Garfield was surrounded by a gang of rats. Backed against a wall, he trembled with fear. The rats were passionately discussing how to divide up the fat cat. Just then, a young rat suddenly stepped forward, and the entire group decided to spare Garfield's life. Not long before that, the little rat had been caught stealing food in John's house. It thought its life was over, but Garfield only put on a show to fool his owner, then secretly spat the mouse back out. Garfield never understood why other cats were so obsessed with chasing mice. When John saw Garfield had done a good deed, he was thrilled. He bought an entire week's worth of lasagna as a reward. By the time he turned around, the plates were already empty. Instead of getting angry, he worried Garfield might have overeaten, so he took him to the veterinarian. Of course, the checkup was just an excuse for John. His real goal was to flirt with the veterinarian. As he was leaving, she stopped him and asked if he would be willing to adopt a dog. John agreed without a second thought. Garfield immediately disliked the new arrival. The dog did not seem very bright. It was either licking Garfield nonstop or spinning in circles, chasing its own tail. Annoyed beyond belief, Garfield went into the living room and followed an aerobics program on television to blow off steam. Odie saw him doing it and started dancing too. That night, John even let Odie sleep on the bed, something Garfield had never experienced himself. The next day, Garfield decided to teach Odie a lesson. He brought him over to a bucket of water and tossed a ball inside for him to fetch. Odie had absolutely no idea what Garfield wanted, so Garfield had to demonstrate it himself, but Odie grabbed a nearby rope and accidentally launched Garfield high into the air. When he crashed back down, milk poured all over him through a pipe, and Odie happily started licking it off. Not long afterward, John picked up Odie and announced they were going out together. Garfield felt completely replaced. He sprinted after the car with his short little legs and barely managed to climb inside. But when they arrived, Garfield was stunned. The place was hosting a championship dance competition for dogs. The moment Garfield appeared, every dog in the building went wild and chased him all over the venue. The host quickly turned on the music to save the situation. As soon as Odie heard the music, he came alive. He jumped onto the stage and started dancing. No one could compete with him. And just like that, he won the championship, earning himself a spot in the newspaper. The richest second-generation cat on the internet. At just 3 years old, he inherited a fortune worth millions. Every morning, all he had to do was tug a rope beside his bed, and 38 chefs throughout the castle would immediately get to work. The butler personally delivered each course of breakfast to the young prince. After every meal, he enjoyed a private massage. Even his litter box was crafted from pure platinum. This was a remote castle hidden somewhere in England. When the queen's will was read aloud, the entire castle was left to the chubby cat she adored most during her lifetime. Meanwhile, a middle-aged man stood nearby, feeling utterly defeated. 40 years of being her nephew had apparently meant nothing, so he decided to get rid of the cat once and for all. The prince's daily royal duty was to ride through town in a luxurious carriage and wave gracefully to visiting tourists. In the royal garden, the butler dog proudly announced that he was the 12th prince of the royal family. The other animals bowed respectfully before him, but the greedy uncle had no intention of giving up. While the prince was taking his usual walk after a meal, he kidnapped him without hesitation and tossed him into a river, hoping that would be the end of him. Meanwhile, outside the city lived another cat who looked exactly like the prince, but his life could not have been more different. His name was Garfield, a lazy glutton who spent every day eating and doing absolutely nothing. His best friend Odie was his constant companion. Lately, Garfield had been in a terrible mood. His owner was preparing to propose to his girlfriend, and Garfield feared he would be forgotten forever. So he wandered around causing chaos while clutching a roast chicken. The next day, the owner took them out. Garfield assumed they were all heading off on a honeymoon together. Instead, he discovered they were being left at a pet shop. While throwing a fit in protest, he accidentally knocked the door wide open. Before the owner even got into the car, Garfield and Odie had already climbed inside. After following their owner all the way to London, Garfield sneaked into the country hidden inside a backpack. The moment he was discovered, he bolted into a restroom to hide, only to realize he had no idea how to use a toilet. To keep them out of trouble, their owner locked both pets inside the hotel room. Garfield spent his time either watching television or staring at Odie doing absolutely nothing. Unable to sit still any longer, he convinced Odie to sneak out for an adventure. The two of them strutted through the streets of London like they owned the entire city. Then, suddenly, a Rolls-Royce pulled up beside them. The royal butler mistook Garfield for the prince and immediately escorted him away. Garfield was completely bewildered. One second, he was thinking about asking for help. The next, he had been won over by a slice of apple pie. As always, food was his greatest weakness. Meanwhile, as Odie chased after the car, he accidentally ran into the real prince